Hi, so this is Megan Pennington. I'm an integrative health practitioner specializing in inflammatory conditions and adverse food reactions. And I'm here with a previous client, Sarah, and we're here to talk today about just how powerful this process can be to identify our triggers, our immune triggers, and how life-changing it can be. And Sarah has a daughter, so that's okay too if she wants to hop on board. So we're just going to ask some questions and open up a conversation so that we can really tell people the life-changing aspects of this kind of work, and maybe they can see some of these issues in themselves and give them some solutions and some support and what's the word I'm looking for? Hope that they can get better. So I just wanted to start by saying thank you, first of all, for taking the time and for being here. And tell me about what you were experiencing before we started working together.
So I made some notes because, as I was saying before, there were parts of my journey that even I've forgotten because it's just, I've come such a long way. So I had my daughter just about 2 years ago, and I was struggling from postpartum anxiety. And I tell you about that because let me start over. The main reason that I started with you, Megan, is because I had severe itching. For 5 months, I had been to dermatologists, regular doctors, actually 2 dermatologists, regular doctors. Some of them barely looked at me and said, oh, it's eczema, go put some Aquaphor on it. And that was it. The Aquaphor made it worse because whatever was happening, it was just like choking my skin, I felt like. As soon as I'm done, baby. Here. You want to draw a picture? So one of the dermatologists had given me a cortisone shot, and that worked beautifully for about a week. Here, draw me a picture, please. Thank you. Yeah. Any other time she'd want to draw a picture. So the cortisone shot worked for a little bit. She also gave me like a heavy duty cortisone cream, which I'm breastfeeding. I was breastfeeding, so I wasn't comfortable using that, but I did, mostly because her pediatrician, who's a lactation consultant, approved it. I felt like I was poisoning my body. I felt like I was poisoning my daughter. And at the end of the day, it wasn't helping. I ran out of the cream twice. It wasn't helping. I tried some natural creams. They weren't helping. I tried Aveeno baths. I tried everything. And it was just terrible. I was up for 4 hours a night, itching to scabs. I have scars all over my body from all of the itching that I did. So it wasn't until I started working with you, Megan, that we figured out it was actually inflammation that was causing all of the itching, and it was never eczema. But the reason that I brought up the postpartum anxiety is because everything scared me. I was terrified of something happening to me and me not being around to raise my daughter. And so I was having, what I didn't realize at the time was also part of inflammation. Say hi. Are you happy now? So I was wheezing. It started probably just before COVID hit, and I thought for sure I had lung cancer because nothing was fixing it. It's just all these things, nothing was fixing anything. So I had gone to a pulmonologist. She said that for my age, I was fantastic. I was above average. So I'm like, okay, it's not my lungs. I went to a cardiologist, and he said, there's nothing wrong with your heart. So I'm like, okay, well, all right, I'll just roll with it. I'll try some allergy medicine that, again, her pediatrician approved as a lactation consultant. Fast forward, I went to a dietitian because now I'm convinced, I know in my head it's got to be something to do with inflammation. I went to a dietitian who said to go on the Mediterranean diet. Then I went to a chiropractor who I thought maybe she would like adjust me and everything would get better. She did a muscle test on me, and basically she says, this is not eczema, this is yeast. So I thank her for at least figuring out what is the actual issue, and it made perfect sense. She said, this is absolutely a yeast overgrowth. And she wanted to put me on like 5 or 6 different supplements. So again, I'm breastfeeding. So I call her pediatrician. The pediatrician gave the go ahead for all but one of those supplements. So when I went back to the chiropractor, she says, well, it's a group treatment. So you can't just take one out. I said, all right, well then I'm not doing it. And then I went to a naturopath. I got some acupuncture. She wanted to put me on some supplements. And I wanted a more natural. I was taking vitamin D, vitamin B12, my prenatal vitamin, all of these, things that I needed because of deficiencies that I had in my body. And she called those into an online company. I looked through the ingredients because by this time I was working with you and I already did my MRT test and I already knew what I was reactive to. And when I started to look at the other ingredients, I started to see things that were not even, come here, not even like just reactive, but on my like red, do not even go near it right now. Everything had wheat in it. Everything had wheat. Come here,
And I remember even your vitamin D had like a food coloring in it, like a chemical food coloring, and I was shocked that the doctor would prescribe something with chemicals in it.
And the prenatal vitamin even.
Yeah.
So so I didn't take those because of course I'm not going to sabotage this program. I think I want to say that's the backstory. That's what I was experiencing before.
So in other words, a lot of practitioners, a lot of different opinions and supplements, and the supplements weren't clean and a lot going on.
Yes. Exactly.
And so what, explain a little bit what the process was when working with me and what the improvements that you started to see a little bit.
Okay. So the first thing we did, we had kind of like an interview to see if I was a good fit and if, I wanted to jump on the program. And then of course I did. And at this point, in all honesty, I was just desperate. I'm like, I need to do something different. And I knew it had to be holistic. I knew it could not be more chemicals. I was always a label reader anyway. And I was always somebody who tried to go for not perfection, but I tried to find organic and things like that. So the first thing we did is you mailed out an MRT test, which I brought to my local lab. They did the blood work. I mailed it out via FedEx. And I want to say 3 days later, I had the results already. It was really fast. So, on the results, it shows you what you're reactive to, what you're moderately reactive to, and what you're severely reactive to. And from day one, you had me fill out a survey of all the symptoms that I was experiencing. And there's a calculation. And at the end, my number was, I want to say 56 or 58. But I did not realize until I took that survey, not only was the wheezing possibly part of my issue, but also, and of course the itching, because that was a main reason. But the wheezing, and I made a list of all the things, because like I said, I had forgotten all these things I was experiencing. I lost weight, of course. The wheezing, headaches. I always get a headache, not anymore, but I always used to get a headache in my temple. It was like a sharp headache that if I would eat macaroni and cheese, I knew that would give me this headache because I started to link the two. So I stopped that years ago, but I knew that was definitely something I was eating. Bloating, auras didn't even occur to me. I had looked out in my yard one day and it looked like, the grill when it's on and you get like the waves coming out of it. For no good reason, that's what I could see in my woods. I'm like, that just is weird. Every morning I would wake up with achy feet. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but my feet just felt like they were in vices for like a good hour before, after I woke up. I had dark spots here, which I was told were hormones, postpartum hormones. It's gone now. And I had hair loss from my thyroid. All of that is gone. And it's mind blowing to me that just changing the food that I'm putting in my body is making that much of a difference. So I have a spot. Let's see if I can do this in reverse. I have a regrowth spot. It's about this long and it sticks out right here. And what have we been doing this? Maybe 2 months or so? Yeah. And I have like already this much hair. I went from like having this huge bald spot right here to to having my hair back, which to me is indicative really that my thyroid might be regulating itself, which is huge for me because I'm on a very high dose of Synthroid. So all of that has gone away. The itching went away in about a week. The only thing that stuck around was the itching around my stomach, which of course, because it was yeast based, everything was in my gut. I think we tried another extra week or two of the diet, and then you added in a probiotic and that microbe X, which is supposed to clear out the bad bacteria. Yeah. So that said, I was adamant about being on the vitamin D and the B12 because of my previous pernicious anemia and because of my vitamin D deficiency, and because what you told me about the betterment of my immunity by having vitamin D. So I'm like, I want vitamin D. Like, I don't care what else, I need the vitamin D. And then again, the prenatal vitamins were loaded with garbage, loaded. Even the ones that the naturopath was suggesting to me, again, was natural, but it was loaded with foods that I couldn't eat, literally even vegetables that I couldn't eat. So I'm happy to say that the supplements that you've given me are completely natural, no added ingredients. I think maybe like citric acid, which is like nothing. So that's just physically, but mentally, I have a lot more energy and my postpartum anxiety is gone. So I experienced this with both of my kids when they were born for probably the first 3 years. The fact that I don't have that, the fact that I don't have that gnawing, I'm going to die tomorrow feeling, I can't tell you, like, I fight back tears because it's just life changing. The having more energy, I'm a morning person, but I've been able to stay awake at night, not to an insomniac degree, but if I want to or need to stay awake to get something done, I can. And that's big because having a baby, of course, you don't get anything done during the day. And that's where I'm at now, but we're still doing, we're still going. We just started the reintroduction phase. And as I had mentioned to you before, a lot of people are saying, oh, you're doing an elimination diet. And I'm like, no, it's not an elimination diet because that's torture. That is just taking all the foods out and hoping they don't give you a reaction. Whereas this, at least I was able to eat foods that felt like I didn't feel sick eating them. I didn't feel all these symptoms. I healed. My body healed itself.
Yeah.
So.
And it was customized. I think the main difference between using the proper mediator release test coupled with the elimination based on that, it's very different than just going for a generic autoimmune protocol or paleo diet or something that, like you said, it takes out so many foods because it's not customized to your immune system. So they try and remove every possible thing, but you can't. I've even had people who are on like a 5-food diet and it's like pears and chicken and rice and something else, and they're reactive to like the chicken. So it doesn't
that would not work for me. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, you just don't know what you don't know until
That's
you know
right.
it. Yeah.
And you know what? I stuck with that for a good while. Like because I would feel guilty and I'd feel bad about certain things. And I'm like, but I didn't know before I knew. And now I know. And now I'm educated and I feel so much better for it.
Absolutely. Awesome. And so you talked a bit about the physical improvements, emotional as well, psychological. Was there anything else, just looking at your notes, that you missed? I want to allow you to to think on it, reflect.
I'm sure that we'll hang this up and I will remember, but so as I said, the itching went away in about a week. The itching in my stomach is gone. If anything, I think the itching that's residual is like so mild. It's not like that deep to my core, I can't get to an itch. It is more like I said, it's a healing scab in all honesty. Yeah. And that's getting better as they heal. The baking soda baths and the Epsom salt baths, those have all been helpful. I think that's it. So my number started at 58. And when I did my follow-up, I don't think I did it on day 10 like I was supposed to, but it might have been like day 12 or 13. I was down to 11.
That's amazing.
I was shocked.
Yeah. Awesome. And so what advice would you have for others dealing with similar health concerns? I mean, you mentioned already, like, clean up the supplements. I think that's really important. Start being aware of what's in the supplements. Anything else that you really found very beneficial?
Something that I will forever to my deathbed say now is advocate, advocate, advocate. Um, you know, our doctors are trained a certain way to know what they know. They too only know what they know. Um, and so many people, especially the elderly, I feel, just trust their doctor and take what they're told to take, but never looking at it from a holistic side, never looking at it from a, but what can I do for myself? Um, and there's been many times where I've asked my doctor, like, what can I fix with my diet? And I'll hear nothing. And that's a shame. It's really a shame. Um, so just advocate, ask questions, read the labels. And if the labels don't tell you what's in them, go to the manufacturer's website and hopefully you can find what's in them. Some of them tell you, some of them don't. Um, you know, again, I went through 3 rounds of being recommended supplements, and I said no, and I said no, and I said no until I got something that I was comfortable taking and is again better than before.
Yeah. And you mentioned even the citric acid. For you, that was okay because you're not reactive to corn. But for me, for example, I'm reactive to corn. And so if I have enough citric acid, I'll actually get a migraine. And so it's very individual for each person. Some supplements can be clean and safe for one person and then not for another. So it's actually if people are finding that they have a very clean diet and a very clean supplement regime and they're still feeling these symptoms, then it's likely that it's because there are reactive items in there that can easily be identified through the MRT test. Would
And
you
that's really
recommend that?
absolutely, absolutely. You know, when you and I sat down, you know, you have different price levels, and I picked the middle road one, and I was like, how am I going to do this? I was set. I was going to go in, and I'm like, I'm just going to do the cheapest one. And then I'm like, no, I need to make this investment in myself, and I wouldn't change that for the world. I talked to my husband about it, and I'm like, I need to do this. And he saw how I was living. He saw how bad things were for me, and he's like, absolutely, go ahead. And I don't regret it, not a day in my life. I won't in the future. I don't now. It's just been life changing for me.
I love that you brought up advocacy and that you just tied it in with like talking to your husband and then him being supportive. Because what I find often, and I just spoke about this on another call this morning, is that it's common that we'll ask our partners like, should I spend some money on this? Like, what do you think? Because often people have shared bank accounts and that sort of thing. But what I hear most of the time is that the husband is not super supportive, or that the partner is kind of like, well, I'm not really sure if it's the right moment because they're not going through everything that you're going through. It's not as urgent. And
Right.
so I really love that he was supportive. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
for the people who maybe speak to their partners and they're not supportive, would you advocate for, stepping into what they really want in despite of, because it's just so important and it's so worth it for your quality of life to make that decision for themselves?
I feel like I would toe the line to say absolutely just do whatever you want, but I would absolutely defend your point. I would, if you have to make a list, make a list. If you have to, I don't want to say so far as get a second job, but if you have to
Do a payment plan.
budget, if you have to give up coffee, and chances are like maybe you have to give up the cream in your coffee or something, I don't know, but give up your coffee, do something that can make it affordable for you, because there's always a way. And especially if you're in dire, like I don't want to say dire straits, but if you're in a really bad spot, let me be honest. I wasn't sure if I was going to say this. I am not a depressed person. I am not a suicidal person. And I was never suicidal. But what I want to say is I was up at night afraid for my future, because all I kept thinking was, if this is what the rest of my life looks like, I'm terrified. And I was also terrified, like, what's going to happen to my mindset? Am I going to become suicidal? I would Google, do people commit suicide from extreme itching? And there are people who cannot live with it anymore. And I'm not some people aren't dealing with extreme itching, but you're dealing with inflammation and joint pain that's just excruciating, or whatever it might be. Or even, like I said, there were things I didn't even realize were an issue. Or maybe you're on like blood pressure medication or cholesterol medication, over the course of your lifetime, you're going to spend that money anyway, and you're going to spend that money in the hospital. You're going to spend that money on medication. Your body can heal itself. And honestly, I feel that Megan's program, I don't want to say can heal anything, but I want to say it can heal just about everything. I mean, any ailments that you're feeling, I do feel that your body is made to heal itself, and her program is, like she said, it's personalized to your issues. And I would say, yes, I would not say do it anyway, but I would definitely say fight hard, fight harder, stand your ground, and say, listen, I need this. Like, my well-being, my health, your health, your well-being is dependent on this, and our family. Like, I want to be here. If nothing else, for myself, I want to be here for my family. And so if nothing else, if that's your argument, then yeah, your life is on the line, technically, in one way or another.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That, I think, can touch everybody, and I think everyone can relate to wanting a higher quality of life for themselves, but also for their marriage, their relationships, their family, to support their kids. Like, we need to fill our cup up first in order to be able to give. And I think that as women, like, we're nurturers, we give a lot. Yeah. And it gets tricky when we're not filling ourselves up first, and when we don't have that energy and that bandwidth to give anymore. I think that that's a very depressing and unfortunate place to get to.
Yes,
and
definitely.
So thanks for being vulnerable and just talking about it. All right. Well, is there anything that we missed? Is there anything that you wanted to touch on?
I think that's it. Thank God for my notes.
You did great.
You and I have talked before, and every time I hang up the phone with you, I'm like, I didn't share this part, or I forgot that part. So I had to take notes to make sure I got everything in.
Yeah. And you did great. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And I welcome anyone that has questions, whether they see this on YouTube or Facebook. Ask me questions in the comments. I'm happy to answer. I also offer free 15-minute calls. So like Sarah did, we just got on a call. We did a little assessment, made sure that it was the right fit and that it made sense and that I could help, because I don't want to waste anyone's time. I don't want to waste my time. And yeah, it's meganpennington.com. It's a super easy click. You have access to my calendar, and we book a quick call and we get started. I think that's the best place to start. So, or answer or ask questions below, and I'm happy to answer that as well. So thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you. And thank you for your passion. Thank you. I just want to say thank you for your passion.
I'm very passionate. It very much excites me to see people step into their power and really grow and thrive. That's my purpose here. So I'm amazed when people just step into that. I love working with clients like you who they saw it as a solution, they made the decision, and you committed and you did the work. And it's so rewarding for me to see you grow and feel amazing. That's what I want. So thank you so much for being willing and investing in yourself. All right, so we'll sign off now, and anyone who has any questions, feel free to follow up.
Okay, have a good one.